Welcome. Welcome. So here we are talking about prioritizing ourselves. Um, I love this topic. I could talk about it forever, but I won't. And if you're here live or if you're watching the replay, um, how do you define prioritizing yourself? I'm curious to know. Language is interesting. Words that we use are interesting. So I'm interested in knowing how you define it. And so here's another word that I want to introduce, which I have been using and loving, which is this idea of a woman centering herself. I'm not sure yet why I prefer that to prioritizing herself, but I have an idea that just sprang into my mind right now. There's something about prioritizing, which is like this hierarchy. So I'm imagining it there, like what's my lowest priority, and then what's the next one, and then what's the next one, and maybe the work that I'm doing is like I'm moving myself up and down that top 4 or 3 slots. Centering for me has this immovable quality to it, where a woman is centered in her life, and the center never changes. The center is never taken over by anybody else except for her. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, how to center yourself, prioritize yourself, how to start your day off like that, and also ways that you can build this muscle and how I have built it. So my great lesson in centering myself was motherhood and marriage. Everybody has their own journey. And this was where I learned so well and so intensely how to center myself, because the default of motherhood and the default of a relationship, marriage is not to center, is not for a woman to center herself. It's actually for a woman to have other people in her center. So do I want to do that now? No, I'm going to share a few things. Then I'm going to share something else with you, which for me blew my mind. So I hope it lights something up for you. There is a practice to a woman centering herself, and the practice moves from this intentional work to a new default, a new standard. And when I was at the beginning of my journey of like figuring out how the fuck do I center myself inside of these roles of motherhood and marriage, it took intentional work. It took being aware of when I was off on the side, when I was uncentered. It took an awareness of what I was saying yes to, what I was saying no to, how I really felt about things, which was like a whole journey on its own. Now I'm at the stage where it's a default, it's a standard. So the way that I center myself is the way that I walk through my life. And it came from years of practice. So wherever you are on the journey is the perfect place, and you're doing the perfect stuff. And the practice builds the muscle, and then the muscle becomes the new standard. Okay. Centering ourselves, prioritizing ourselves, in my experience, starts with small stuff, small claims of time, small claims of resources, small claims of attention, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. There is a rewiring that is required for most women to center themselves, which is why small things create this feedback loop. You're like, okay, I claimed that small thing for myself. And it's a message that we send ourselves. I am worthy of that time, that space, those resources, that energy. And therefore I will do it again because it feels good. And therefore I am worthy enough to do it. And therefore I can claim it because I know I'm worthy. And because I've claimed it and I'm telling myself I'm worthy, then I can ask for bigger and bigger time, space, resources. So for me, what that looked like was I remember the first few years of motherhood when it was like, for me to make a fresh cup of coffee for myself was a freaking big deal. That was like a big centering exercise because there's coffee that I could just heat up in the microwave. It's perfectly fine. So I'm going to use fresh coffee. I'm going to claim resources and I'm going to claim time. I'm going to take the time to heat it up and make myself a fresh cup of coffee and maybe froth some milk. It's these tiny, tiny things that don't seem significant, but if we feel what it's like to like grab that coffee and pour it in a cup and pop it in the microwave and have it come out 60 seconds later and drink that hot, stale coffee, like the message that that sends to ourselves, first of all, and then to everyone around us. When a woman centers herself, even without telling anybody, she changes the way other people view her, all around her, family, relationships, friends, and they adjust to her new standard, even without consciously knowing that they are. All of a sudden, they understand that she has a new standard and it's higher than before, and they step into line. They start serving her at that standard because she has set that standard. So going from making that fresh cup of coffee, which seems like so stupid and so frivolous and so insignificant, but it is not, led to then, me going on 7 retreats, like 2 retreats a year for a week long, which was a big claim of time and space and energy and resources. So it starts small and then it gets big. And it requires constant vigilance. Like, I know we're all sick of the fucking work. And this is the most beautiful work, the most important work. So the constant vigilance is because life changes and we change and things come along and all of a sudden our center or our priorities can be reshuffled because something else comes in there, something leaves, something else comes in. And so the constant vigilance is about noticing when we have become uncentered. And with practice, with intentional practice, this will become something that will be easy for us to feel. It's like we become our own thermostat. We're like, something's out of alignment here. What's going on? Oh, I've noticed that over the last week, I've been centering someone else, or I have been centering something else, like my work, or a project, or a trip, or making plans, or somebody's birthday party. And then we will get so freaking good at detecting when we have been uncentered. And then, okay, what do I need to do to center myself? And it's okay. We all lose our ways because life is always changing. Things pop up. Sometimes things pop up and it takes us a while to adjust, like the pandemic. So a whole bunch of things came onto my plate that were new, like kids home from school, husband home from school, have no office, a whole bunch of new things. And it happened with all of us, a whole bunch of new situations, scenarios, modifications, adjustments, losses, changes. And so there's always this moment of shakiness until it's like, okay, wait. Where am I? How do I center myself? And sometimes it takes us a little while to get there, and that's perfectly fine because it's beautiful work and we're doing it and it's all good. Okay. So here's what I want to share with you. And as I said, this is from my particular experience of learning through this really intimately through motherhood and marriage. So here is the first diagram. And I wrote this up for us this morning because this for me, to have a visual is very powerful. So here is the first one. So this is how I would say is the default of the good mother and the good wife. So here's me. I'm like a little bit of the circle. The circle is my life. And so I'm like, I don't know what that is, 10% or something. And then marriage, like being that good partner, being that good wife is there. Other work for me is all the other ways that I can serve and do work, whether that's like household, domestic duties, helping out at school, community, friends, family. Who else wants me to help? Who else wants a piece of me? And then children taking up this big part. That was a very uncentered diagram, and that's what it feels like for me, not being centered in my life. Meaning that my own voice, my own needs, my own desires are like this small little section, and everything else overwhelms that small little section. So of course I am uncentered in my own life. So here's how I think of my life now. Diagram number 2. So let's see. So here I am, upside down. Here's me. Now I'm in the center. Everything else comes off of that. Adventure, fun, work, children, they are all spokes. But I am the center. I am the center. And being the center for me means always being acutely aware of my choices. Acutely aware of my choices. How do I feel in this moment? What do I want from this moment? What do I want from this day? What do I want in this experience? And sometimes I will choose to center someone else. Sometimes I will choose to center my children for a period of time, or center my marriage, or center a project. Because I'm very good at centering myself, I'm making the choice. It's not a default, I'm making a choice. And that's the whole thing that we're trying to do, right? And I know that if you're here watching, that you have this sense that the default is not prioritizing yourself. Like that's what we're all up against. That's what we're all fighting against. This wiring that makes it the default for us to center everything else and everybody else. So if that visual works for you, you could even draw that for yourself. Like draw a circle and you're in the frickin' middle, me. And then what comes off of there? Like what are those other things that feel like they are the default that could pull you away from yourself? Is it your work? Is it a relationship with a family member? Is it people that you're caretaking for? Is it a relationship, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend? What is it that could pull you away? And can you flip the script and put yourself in the center and just have them, they come from you. They come from your center. Here's some questions that I ask myself regularly to center myself. So one is, where am I right now? Where am I right now? And part of that is just locating where I am mentally and emotionally. Where am I right now? Oh, I'm feeling like I completely do not want to do this thing. I'm feeling like, I fucking just said yes and I want to say no. Where am I right now? Where am I right now? Another question is, what do I want right now? This is like so basic and yet it's so hard. Here's when I would use it. My kids are like, oh my God, can we go to the beach? Can we go swimming? And I'm like, I don't want to. So then I make a choice. Do I want to take them? Yes or no? And I might decide, yes, I'm going to take them because I know they'll have fun. I know they're excited. And then my follow-up question is like, what do I want? How do I want to do this for myself? So that might be, we will go at the time that I want because I have some work to do, so I don't want to go until 3 o'clock. It might be that this is the beach that we're going to, the beach that I choose. It might be, okay, I'm going to make sure that I have the books that I want to read, the towel that I want, the snacks that I want. Again, how am I centering myself in this experience? What do I want? And sometimes what we need to do is like, I actually don't know what I want. Can you give me some time to think about that? That's another way to catch that default if we're not sure. How do I center myself when I get a request from someone? My default might be to say yes, because I'm helpful, because I like collaboration, because they're a friend, because it's the right thing to do, it's the nice thing to do. Can I sit on that for a few minutes? Can I have a little bit of time to think about it? Thank you so much for reaching out. I need 24 hours. I need a week. I need some time to think about it. So asking questions is very important. Taking the time to ask questions. Knowing that centering yourself can start off with small things, and it's a muscle that grows and grows and grows with practice. Constant vigilance is needed. And there's this other piece, which is the awareness of when we've fallen out of alignment. So for me, when I have become decentered, like I have faded off to the side, just because it happens sometimes. I get incredibly irritated, very bitchy, and super angry. And that for me is like, uh-oh, okay, I've lost it somewhere. Oh shit, I gotta pull myself back. What have I been centering? Oh, I've been centering my children. Okay, cool. I've been centering my marriage. I've been centering my work. And then I have to notice and then figure out how to bring myself back into the center. So morning routine for me has been key, especially over the last year and a half. I need to be in my own presence first. To be, again, it's that like location. Where am I? Where am I right now? And for me, morning routine, even though it always has a different iteration depending on what I need, sometimes I've had morning routines which have been all about work. I just need an hour and a half or 2 hours of work before the day starts. And that's what's centering. That's what I want to center right now. It could be that I actually just need time to think. I've actually had morning routines where all I do is I wake up and I sit on a couch for half an hour and I just think, because I need space to think. So morning routines always change, but what stays the same is that it's a moment where I center myself. I am the only voice that is there. I am the only physical presence that is there. So I wake up in the morning and it's about me. Where am I? How am I feeling? What do I need? What do I desire? And that is gold for me. So, yeah, queen bitch. It's like, oh, fuck. Queen bitch only comes to knock on the door and she's like, you fucker, you've been fucking me over for the last week. I gave you a few days to recover. You didn't. And now I'm here. She walks right in that front door and you better change some shit around. So this is what I've learned. This is what I've been practicing over the last decade of centering myself. And what I would end with is there are constant places for me of friction of centering myself. Sometimes they come from my children because they have certain expectations of what I say yes to or what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes friction comes because people expect a certain level of reliability and consistency. Meaning if I have always done something or been a certain way, then they expect that to continue. And if those behaviors have not been centering for me, and I want to drop them, then I get friction because I'm not doing what I usually do. Sometimes friction comes from people who have a certain idea of how I should behave as a mother or how I should behave as a wife. And when I don't center those relationships, I center myself instead, then there can be friction from family members, from the person involved, from in-laws, from other people in the same roles as me that have certain expectations that this is how we should all be behaving together. So there is always levels of friction, and I have used all the range of emotions to deal with the friction. I have been incredibly angry. I have been fucking irritated. I have been sad. I've been disappointed. And what I would say I've learned over the last few years is in my most juicy, authentic queen stance, there is this deep knowing and deep trust in the centering of myself that allows me to just anchor in and let all of the friction be like bees buzzing around me. Sometimes I'm not able to be in that state, and sometimes I am. And the longer I do this practice, the easier it is for me to be just in that deep knowing and that certainty of centering myself. So, thank you. This is some good fucking work here. If you're watching the replay, let me know what resonated with you. What was like, oh man, yeah, I fucking know that. Or I already do that. Or I never do that, but now I'm gonna do that. And how did you like the diagram? How do you want to visualize yourself in your life? If you were to draw a picture of how you want to be centered or prioritized in your life, what does it look like? And how does everything else and everybody else fit in? As always, such a pleasure to be here. I will see you later. Let me know in the comments what you liked, what you're thinking about, and let's do this fucking good work together. You're doing amazing. It's happening. Keep going. It's fucking glorious. I'll see you later.